Aloha, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix. And I'm your host, Carlo Lessin. This guy here is Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, my beloved, and he's our co-host. And our guest today is Carlo S. Carnevalini, and he can pronounce it for you, but it's a very wonderful Italian name. And they roll up your tongue if you know how to do it. And we have other people here. Peter Anthony Flynn's here. We have other people that might join us, so be aware of that. And we're recording this show via Zoom on, the January 17th, 2021. And we will be uploading this to about a dozen platforms, including YouTube, for your enjoyment later. So what would you like to say, Sasha?
These are really interesting times we're in. And it's if you look at it from a bigger perspective, you see whatever's going on outside is also going on inside. These are really interesting times to find out about yourself and the world in which you live.
Great. And Carlo, he is an experiencer. And I'm not going to read your bio because it's up here on aquarianradio.com. See this? And I put all these pictures, and there's Carlo and his book cover, Into the Dimensions. But I find it more interesting when we just dive into it. So welcome, Carlo, and I love your background.
Hi.
Hi.
Aloha.
So let's go in our time machine back to when you were born. I hear some dinging. That's okay. I'll let it go. Somebody's dinging somewhere. Where were you born, and when were you born, and what was your life like? We're going to see what shaped you. How did you become to be the person you are today?
I was born in 1962, and I was born in Managua, Nicaragua. And the life back then, as I remember it, in the 1960s, it was similar to the United States, because my country was like a little colony of the United States back then. A lot of people came to my country to visit and to tour, the natures of my country, the beautiful beaches, and good time. It was a good time, even though we had a dictatorship, but it wasn't as bad as dictatorships are now. And I don't recall anything about politics because, I was a kid, and all I cared was about playing with my neighbors, the other children, about my age. And exactly like those New York old stories that you can remember, where people play on the street and have fun. And that's what my life was like in the 1960s when I was growing up.
So what happened? I guess your first critical incident with extraterrestrials was when you were 5 years old. Did anything happen before that?
Yeah, before that, I remember my life very, very young because I'm the last of 4 siblings. So when they were growing up, I remember they were going to school, they were going places, where they march, in the on the holidays and things like that. And I wanted to do that. And I remember I was very small, and it took a long time for me to go to kindergarten because I was like 3 when I started remembering things. And I remember there were voices calling me when I was a little kid, calling my name from the distance. And I used to come to my mom and tell her, "Hey, Mom, who's calling me?" And my mom will say to me, "Who's calling you? What do you mean?" So I said, "Voices are calling me. People are calling me." And she says, she used to tell me, "Well, don't even go to those voices. If you go there, the leprechauns are going to kidnap you and take you away from me. So don't even pay attention to that." And I will ignore, my gift, because I have the gift where I can hear and see things that other people will not see. And that's how I remember my childhood, my infance and my childhood. when I was coming up, and also I remember I saw ghosts and things happened to me. I had this experience. My godfather, he was a nice man who I only saw twice a year, and he will come to my house and deliver two presents every Christmas. And he delivered my birthday present and my Christmas present, and they were like really really expensive presents that no other kids in my neighborhood will have it. My dad and my mom were middle class, but they were starting in their lives, so they had to work hard in order to make ends meet. My dad had to come to the United States and study here in Mexico and other countries. He was sent to study and in his career, and so we barely make some money, for the family. And my godfather will come and deliver this gift that I will be so impressed. And I remember one time he gave me two robots. Probably they were made in Japan or I don't know where, but they were like really, really nice. And one was red, the other one was, one was green and the other one was red. And I remember at night they will come alive. They have a battery, and they will walk into the wall and come back up, and they will never stop walking around. But at night, of course, they turn them off, and I was a little kid, and they will turn on, and you see the lights coming up, and the robots coming into my bed, and they have these little hands, like that robot in the series, the TV series Lost in Space, and he has two claws for hands. And I remember they will come and pull my blankets, and I'll be scared, and scared to death, but nobody will believe me, So one day, I was like really, really frightened. I didn't want to see them anymore. And my brother after me, the one next to me, he says, I can give you a solution for those, those robots, so they stop bugging you. And I said, okay, what do you want to do? And he says, I can kill them. And I said, how do you kill them? We take the heart out. He was older than me, of course. He was like 3 years older than me. So if I was 3, he already was 6, and or 3 or 4, years old. And he was 3 years older than me, so he was smarter and brighter. And he one day he took one of my dad's screwdrivers, and he unscrewed the back of the robot, and he took the things out of the robot. Of course, the robot will not work again, right, and they will die in order, for me to not to be scared. And so my dad, when he came back home from a year in another country, in New York or something like that, he'll come home and he want to play the robots, to play with me, and they will be dead because of course they didn't have the batteries or nothing, and he just threw him in the garbage. And I was so upset, and I started crying because I like them dead, but I like them, I like to see them. Right. But he was upset and he threw him away in the garbage. So things like that happened to me as I was growing up.
Interesting. So, so what happened when you were 5?
Well, when I was 5.
Yeah, did anything else happen before the age of 5 besides the rabbits?
Anything before that?
Yeah, between birth and 5, you had when you were you had the rabbits. Then what else happened?
Well, after I had other experiences, like when my great grandmother, who was the Italian in my side, when she died, she brought up my dad because my grandparents, they got divorced, and each one went their own way. So she raised my dad. And when she died, she inherited my dad's all her furniture in the house. So they brought the furniture to our home, but I was already born. I mean, I wasn't even born. I was born like 6 years later after she passed away. So, but I know that that's what the furniture that we have was coming from her house. And the chairs at night, they will move by themselves. And when I went to the restroom when I was, between 3 and 5, I will go to the restroom at night to use the restroom, and we had to walk this hallway, and it's a small house, but still for a kid my age, it was a big hallway. So when I used to go to the restroom to use the potty, I see the chairs moving. They were rocking chairs, and they will be moving. And I will say, why are they moving? Because even so, I was a kid. I will ask myself, I was a kid that always asked questions. I had questions all the time. I wasn't a kid that things happen around him and he was like in La La Land. I wasn't that kind of kid. I was the kind of kid that I'll be paying attention. I'd be doing psychological questions, to things around me. And I will be asking myself, what are these chairs moving? And I just see them. And I went around the chair and I see them moving, and they were moving. So when I turn around, the TV turns on by itself, and we didn't have any remote control back then. It was the 60s. In Nicaragua, we had remote controls until the 1970s. So back in the 60s, we didn't have any remote control, and TV was black and white. And the TV will turn on exactly like that movie,
Poltergeist.
Exactly like that. Just like that, exactly. And that's when I'll be scared, because I hear voices calling me from the TV, but in a dense way, not exactly like this clear voice that we have. It was like coming out of the TV, but really far, far away. And I'll be scared to death. And I felt a pull into the TV screen, and I will run into my room, be scared, and I will pee my bed. I had no other choice because I was going to the restroom. And since I was stopped in the way, I will be peeing in my bed, and my mom will be upset,
Right.
and I couldn't do anything.
Wow. So did you ever see any full-figured ghosts? Or when I was a kid, I used to see this head all the time, and then sometimes they would manifest the end of my bed. And so you mentioned ghosts earlier. So did you actually see any figures? You can come closer.
Yes, I saw demons in the dark. Like when you see a black dog, let's say you're seeing a black dog behind a mist in the dark. That's what I'll see. I see faces coming out of the walls in my house, and I will see people walking in and out of the walls. And but before I was even born, my brother, the one after me, he was 2 years old, because he was 3 years older than me, so he was 2.5 or something like that. And he was in his room, and my mom, she said she was very pregnant with me, and she was doing things for children, for me, for the baby. So one day he started screaming out of the top of his lungs, and she went into the room where he was, because she thought he fell or something. And when she came into the room, a figure dissolved in the air, out of thin air, and my brother was screaming and telling my mom that the way he described it was a woman, very tall woman. Of course, for a child like him, probably was like a really tall woman, but he says the woman was all the way up to the ceiling, the roof, and the woman was blonde, and she has blue eyes, very blue eyes, and that she was telling him that she wanted to take him away with her, to go with her. She was calling him. So she started screaming. He started screaming because he was scared. And the thing is, now that we grown up, my brother is about 60 years old now, and he says he remember very clear. That image never went away from his head, and he says that the woman was calling him, and my mom knows it's true. So that's a little story we have in the family since before I was even born.
Wow.
What did you and your brother fear? What was it that you were scared of?
Well, I wasn't born yet. That was my brother. He was scared because the tall woman was going to take him away.
But you said you were, yeah, besides you, I understand that was what he was, but what were you scared of these different scenes? What was it about what you saw that frightened you? What were you scared of?
Oh, when I was seeing the images and stuff?
Yes.
Well, because the TV, okay, Janet will understand this very clear because she had the experiences like me. When you feel evil next to you, you don't have to see anything. You know that it's scary and you don't supposed to go there. When evil doesn't have to be something like you see the devil right away and then you're scared to death, or you see a demon. That's not evil. That's not only evil is not doesn't come in that way either. Evil is also a presence of evil near you, and then that's what will scare you. And that's what happened to me. I saw the TV. I felt the presence of evil.
Thank you.
Okay.
Or probably a feeling of negative energy.
Yeah.
So I would see the different ghosts, and some were friendly, some were menacing, So I had a variety of emotions around these ghosts. Of course, it was scary because the other people didn't believe it. So, what do you tell your parents? You didn't want to be ridiculed. So if your parents are receptive, hey, Mom, I saw this. Like my mother just denied it and tried to make me feel like I'm crazy. But there's only one entity I felt was, he wasn't really evil. He was just like mischievous. But you're saying your entities felt evil. That's interesting.
Yes, I have felt positive energy too, but I have very few experiences of seeing that kind of ghost. But ghost to me, in my own experience, has been evil most of the time. Has been evil. I haven't seen like a ghost that talks to me about goodness or have contact with me about doing something good. I've seen ghosts where they have talked to me, but they come with signs. They do things with signs, or tell you one word, and with that word you understand everything they want to tell you. It's like your mind opens up, and then you know what's up. They tell you go, and then you know what that go means. There is a whole story behind that word go. Or they say a name, Robert, and I will know exactly what that Robert word means. And that's the experiences I had. I haven't had a contact where I'm going to be talking to the ghost like you and I.
What I wonder, Carlos, is, most people talk to or hear the voices of their deceased loved ones auditorily. I hear my dad's voice talking to me, and this is so common. And some people think that's they're the spirit of those people, and they have sought us. And I just wonder if you've had any of those kind of experiences.
No, I have heard the voice of my mother.
Yes,
my mother is alive. My mother is alive, but I have heard her voice even though she's not around. Probably I was living in Florida and she was living here in California, and I will hear her calling me or saying something to me, and I will call her on the phone, and then she'll tell me, yes, I was calling you with my thoughts. I was praying for you, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
My dad died 30 years ago, and I never heard his voice. Even though the day he died, my house was a mayhem. The electricity, the power, everything was working wrong. Everything, the TV, you couldn't watch the TV the day he died, or the week he died, you couldn't watch the TV. There was a lot of interference, and everything has to do with electronic and electric stuff. And the lights will pop, and the fire alarm will go off. And you know what? Today's his birthday. Today's my dad's birthday.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
What would you like to say to him?
Yeah.
If the spirit hears you now, what would you like to tell him now?
I will tell my dad that thank you for all the moral values that he invested in all of us, and his example as a father. I'm very proud of my dad because he was a real example for us. Somebody that didn't grow up with his own parents, but he still, he was a good man, and he made it in life. He made it really good, and we had a good life because of him. So I thank him for all he did.
Wow.
Wonderful. I'm going to stop the screen share for now. We're getting more people. Thank you for joining us, whoever you are.
Oh, it's much easier.
There we go. Now we
Wow.
can see you easier.
Yeah.
Also, want to make sure it's recording. Yes, it's recording. Okay. Oh, then I can see names. Okay, welcome, Steve and Paul and iPhone. So, but now I can't see your notes. All right, well, let's continue. So you mentioned that the chairs were rocking. Do you think that might have been like your grandmother, the people that owned the furniture? Who do you think was rocking your chair? That was ghost, right? Who do you think was making?
Well, to this day, I would think it's ghost, because when I started writing my book, I have to confirm information with my brothers, my sister, my mom, and my sister. I didn't know this information until I started writing the book. My mom, my sister will tell me that at night she will hear the rocking chairs. My sister is 6 years older than me, so that means that she was like if I was 6, she was 12, and that means that she told me that she did hear the TV turning on and off and the chairs rocking. But my brothers, they never saw anything like that. They saw other things, but nothing like that. And my mom is a person who can see, she can foretell the future with visions that she receives. And she had to close her eyes in order to see the visions, and she's seen it all her life. My visions are different. I see it with my eyes open. The thing is that my body can't move. I'm like stuck. Probably I'm like this right now, and all of a sudden I see a vision. I just go like this, and I'm not moving. But I see it with my eyes. The difference with my mom, she can hear it and see it, but she has to she has to close her eyes.
Are these visions?
So it's something in the family.
Visions of the future? Can't you tell which horse
Yeah.
to win?
Say that again.
Are these
Can you
visions
tell
of-
which horse is going to win?
Oh, I wish I'll be rich right now. My visions, they come in and out as they please. It's not like I'm going to close my eyes and say, I want to see this. That's not the way they work. The way they work, at least in my position, is they come to me like 9/11. It's in my book.
Oh.
My book, I have a story about 9/11 and the towers, and I saw everything that happened the night before. Everything that happened, I saw it the night before, and it was so incredible that I saw it, and I said, God, I could have called the president or somebody, so they can do something about it.
Right.
But you never know. I mean, things happen.
Wow.
And you will never guess what it is. Mm-hmm.
So the tall blonde woman that your brother saw, that sounds extraterrestrial. How did you know what you were seeing or sensing as a child was a ghost or an extraterrestrial? How did you tell the difference, or could you?
Up to that point, before my extraterrestrial experience, I can't say I saw extraterrestrial beings, because I will not know the difference.
Right.
Until I was abducted for the first time. Then I knew the difference. I knew what they were. Remember, in the 1960s, for me, an alien is the same one that you see you saw in the cartoons.
Casper.
Yeah.
No, not Gasper. The other one. The other one. The Stone. The Flintstones. The Flintstones. You remember that little green alien that flew in the air?
Yeah.
And he has a UFO or something. That's the only alien that I remember in my life.
Okay,
that I thought that's the way they look.
So okay, you've mentioned your abduction. So let's hear it.
Okay. Yeah. So your first abduction was when you were 5 years old. What was going on?
5 going on 6.
Uh-huh.
They never allowed me to stay. My grandmother's farm is like 20 minutes away from downtown. No, probably 25 minutes away from downtown. in my country, and it was a rural area. They didn't have any electricity or running water. Everything came from we have lights. They have to lit up these lanterns at night, but everybody will go to bed like at 7, 8 o'clock at night. And all my cousins and all my cousins will spend the weekends at my grandparents, but they were teenagers or they were 6, 7 years old, something like that. But a 5-year-old kid, my grandma didn't want it around the house because she says it was a lot of work and she didn't want to deal with a little kid like me. Especially I was from the city, and if I saw a mosquito, I'll be scared, running away. I see a roach or a lizard, then I'll be scared. So she didn't want to deal with me. But then one of my cousins says, if you stop acting like a little girl, probably grandma will let you stay. And I said, okay, well, I'll try my best, because I wanted to stay. Every weekend that I go, I see everybody sleeping on hammocks and, together and having fun, and they will go and hunt, in the forest. And I wanted to do that, but they will not allow me. And my dad says, until you turn 6. So I was waiting for my 6 years old to become 6 years old.
Somebody make a noise. Okay, I got it. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay, then I was like 2 weeks away from my birthday, and I wanted, like I said, I was like desperate to start staying at my grandma's. And I told my dad, and I started crying since we got there. Grandma, tell my dad, Grandpa. My grandpa was very loving, and he was like really nice. And I will beg my grandpa to tell my parents to let me stay. So one of my cousins says, I will take care of him if you let him here. And then my parents says, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. We're gonna let you stay one week, because it was the Holy Week, and it's 7 days. And I was so happy. I was gonna spend 7 days drinking cow's milk and having fun, and so they let me stay. And the first night I was like really, really scared, because the light is not like in the city that you turn off the light, but still you see some light. Not there. It's like really, really dark. But 3 days later, I was so happy playing with all the farm animals and stuff. And 3 days later, I got used to it, so I wasn't scared anymore. So I was so happy that I was a little boy, and I wasn't crying, and so things start happening. Huh?
Hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to mute this first. Okay, I'm not sure. Please stay muted if you're not speaking. Thank you. Go ahead, Carlos. Back to you.
So things start happening, and but I one of the things that I used to do is go to the house, my grandma's house. They have these people that works for them, labor workers, and they will have a big table outside of the house. There was a pine tree, and they will set a table there. It was a big farm table there for them to eat. And I will lay it on the table to see the sky at night. And I will have so much fun, because it was so dark that you can see all the stars in the firmament. And it was a beautiful view. And I said, oh, I love this. I love it. And I got stuck, seeing the black sky at night with all these beautiful diamonds shining up there. And then I start seeing lights moving. But then when I asked my cousins, I said, what are those lights in the sky? Oh, those are fireflies. They would not even look at the sky. They just tell me, those are fireflies. And they grab a few and they show it to me, because I didn't even know what fireflies were. And they showed me the fireflies. But then I said, I can see the fireflies on the grass, but I don't think they're going to be on the sky.
Yeah.
So that's how I started seeing the UFOs moving there, but I didn't know what they were. And so the night before I went back to the city. Nothing happened through the whole week. That's the only thing that happened. But I felt this presence. Even so, I felt a presence. Somebody, like they were watching me. Somebody was watching me. That's how I felt. But I wasn't scared at all. So the night before, we left the farm. That day I drank a lot of called pinolillo in my country. It's a cocoa drink made with water. They made it with water. The ancient Mayans, they had it as one of the drinks of the gods. It comes from the corn, it's a cereal, but you mix it with water and sugar. And of course, it was the most good thing. My grandmother used to make it, from scratch. And I said, I'm going to drink as many as I can, because when I go back to the city, I'm not going to have this chance. So I'll be drinking that drink. And at night, I wanted to go it was like really dark and everybody went to bed. They told stories in the living room, but I used to sleep with my grandmother in her room and my brothers too. And so we were there, and I needed to go to use the latrine because they have an outhouse. And I said, yeah. And I said, Grandma, I want to go to use the latrine. Can somebody go with me? And she says, well, you go by yourself, because here's a flashlight. And she gives it to me. And I put a foot out of the door, and I'm like really scared because I can hear cricket and I can hear all kinds of animals. I can hear the owls, making their noise. And I was like, oh my God, this is haunted. I cannot go there. And I begged my brothers and my cousins, and nobody wanted to go with me. So I said, well, the only thing I can do is pee Grandma's garden. And she will kill anybody that will pee in her garden, because she like have flowers and beautiful herbs and stuff like that. And she didn't want nobody to pee in her garden, that it was outside the door. But I had no other choice. So I went with the flashlight. But as soon as I got outside, it's like another atmosphere. I don't know if you guys ever been to New Mexico or Arizona, I think. Arizona or New Mexico. No, Arizona. Have you guys been to Arizona before?
Yeah, both places, yeah.
Okay, do you know how you are inside the air conditioning in your car, and then you put a foot out and the heat comes out in your face? Oh, yeah. That kills you, it's like a heater full blown on your face. And that's what I felt when I left the house. The house was cool, but when I left the door, when I put the foot out of the door, I felt I got into another atmosphere. Not a hot atmosphere, but something strange, another dimension. But I didn't know what a dimension was back then. But I knew I wasn't in this dimension. I was somewhere else. I was in between reality and something else. So I knew it. Even though I was a little kid, I knew that wasn't real. That wasn't not real. It wasn't what I was used to. It wasn't, the words is like, it wasn't my reality. It was another reality. That's what it was. But I wasn't scared. I was scared to go out, but I wasn't scared at the same time. It's like something make me feel comfortable to go out. And like I was a very curious little kid. I wanted to see what's going on. And between my mom and there was, outside, I'm sorry, between the house, there was in a chicken coop, there was my grandmother's garden. But it was like a little farther, the chicken coop. And I can hear the chicken, like when they're gonna be attacked by a fox or something, they start making these little noises, like they frightened or something. Something frightened them. And I said, what's going on? And I started putting the flashlight to that, and I can see these little faces behind the chicken coop.
Oh, wow.
Exactly the aliens that the grays that but I couldn't see them very well. I know there was little people there, but I didn't know what they were. What does that mean? And I'm not sure what it is, but then I don't see them. But I saw them first, and I saw their eyes. I saw their bodies. I saw their arms. I saw them. I knew there was somebody, but then I flashed again the light, and I didn't see anything. So I go to the garden in the back of the house, and I can hear my grandma saying, I don't want you to do anything in my garden. I'll kill you tomorrow, or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I know she was warning me not to pee in the grass. And I said, well, Grandma, I have no choice in my head. And I start peeing next to the wall so you cannot hear. And as soon as that happened, I felt overwhelmed. That's the word, overwhelmed. My body changed temperature quickly, and I started flying up in the air. I levitated like halfway between the house. And as soon as I levitated, I had no control over myself. Right. You know, one of my shoes fell off, the flashlight also fell off. And all I can see is all I can do is move my head. That's it. I couldn't move anything else. So as I'm moving my head, I can see the moon on top of the house. It was the moon. To me, it was the moon. Of course, it was a UFO, but back then I didn't know it was the moon. So as soon as I see the moon, I can see these little creatures coming towards me. And they have this communication with me that it was in another level, you know, not a human level. It was in another mind. But I know my head expanded. You know, my head I wasn't even there. It's like I came out of my body for a little while, and I can see that my mind was another mind. It wasn't my mind like a little kid. My mind was like an adult mind, right. And it came out of me like a flower. And then they will communicate with me, and they treat me with the utmost respect, like if I was a royalty. That's the way they treated me. And I was so impressed because everybody will just push you away, you know. Back in the 60s, you know, you're in the middle of something, they just push you away, and they don't care what you say. I will say things because, like I told you, I was a curious kid, and I wanted to know everything. So I will come and ask people questions, and they didn't like me to ask them questions. People don't like that you confront them and ask them questions. They don't have the answer, or they don't want you to waste their time. And that's the way it was in the 60s, sadly. Now I see that kids want a bag of Cheetos, and the parents start looking for psychological solutions for the bag of Cheetos. And when I was a kid, they don't even care if I wanted Cheetos or not, or a soda. They will just give it to me. Here, this is what you're gonna eat. Even if you don't like it, you have to eat it. And if grandma cooked it, you have to eat the last bean. So that's the way it was in my time. But these people, they treated me like I was royalty. And I felt like impressed.
I just wanted to interject here. When I was 4, they took me up. They treated me like returning royalty. And I call it my eternal self. Even though I was a 4-year-old, suddenly I was my expanded consciousness and everything I was and ever will be. So they were talking to me on that level. So go ahead.
Yeah, me too.
So
that's the way they talked to me.
What did you see when you were there?
And I was like, what they were saying?
What did you see? What did you see?
Oh, what did I see?
Yes.
Well, once that I went up into the moon, like I said, because I thought it was the moon on top of the roof, that I don't remember nothing after that. Nothing. Uh-huh. I don't remember anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you ever visit that with the hypnotherapist and recover those memories about what happened?
About 50 years later, almost, I went to a therapist. I don't want to say the name. Right. And as soon as I went under, you know how they count from 10 to 1 and backwards. And when I was in 7, the number 7, I already went away, and I started seeing everything. She gave me the recording. She gave me a copy of the recording. And I was like really excited. My heart was going to come out of my chest. And she was really, really scared. She really was really scared. And then she stopped the session. But I saw everything in seconds. I saw everything in seconds. But I was like really, a lot of emotions. And she was like really frightened. And she told me that she stopped it because I could have a heart attack. And she has to calm me down, and, we'll do another session, and then another session, and they will not work again. Only that one time, that's it. I have like 5 sessions, but they will not work.
Interesting. So what did you see?
Yeah.
In the recording? What did you see?
Regression, yeah.
Okay, what I saw is what I remember, because I remember everything. I was the kind of abductee that retains and remembers. I don't, it's not like other people that they have to go under so they can remember. Not me. I remember, but I didn't know if it was true or not. That's what I've been in denial all my life. I was in denial. I thought I was making up my brain was making up the story. My dad will not believe me. I will have nightmares when I was about 12 and 13 years old. And my dad will say every day, my dad was the kind of guy that he will have his feet on the ground and he will tell me, you know what kind of novella are you making up today?
Oh.
So, I was like, yeah, because my dad was the greatest dad in the whole world, but that part he will not understand.
Right.
And even though he had experiences too, he had not like me with aliens, but he had paranormal experiences. Not so many, but he had them, and he told us about it. But having like me, every experience of my life since I was born, my dad will not take that. That was too much for him. So he will just not accept it.
Right. So
and my mom will listen to him.
So what brought you out of that? Was it just time passing and he was dead? Like when my mother died, I started remembering things that I didn't remember while she was alive, because she was always repressing my memories and shaming me. Because I would see ghosts, I'd try to talk to her about it, and she would make fun of me, or she would just react in a negative way. So it wasn't safe to tell her the truth. That's why, listeners, if you have children and they're trying to tell you something, pay attention. Your children and grandchildren, slow down and
That's right.
And don't criticize. You don't have to make fun of them or this kind of thing. So anyway, okay, so what happened? How did you get back?
Okay, when I was around 25 years old, I started working for the Superior Courthouse in Los Angeles. And nearby, they have a bookstore. Remember Dalton Bookstore, something like that?
Yeah,
in LA.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. That was the main bookstore back in those days. And I used to go and read books. I love to read books. So, but everything that I like, nothing to do with aliens, nothing at all. I like classicals and novellas, and I like detective stories. And so one day I'm going to the Dalton store for my break. My lunch break was an hour and a half. And so I have my lunch in the mall, and I will go to the bookstore and start reading the new books, right? And that day, one of the days that I show up there, they have the big old poster from Communion.
Uh-huh.
That book, Communion.
Right.
And then when I saw it, I almost got a heart attack.
Oh.
I say, what is this doing here? What is this guy that I know? I know this guy. What is he doing here?
Uh-huh.
So I was curious, and I said, I want to read this book. So I bought the book. At first, I started reading a little bit, but I started sweating, and I couldn't take it. And I said, I have to buy the book and go home and peacefully read it. But I couldn't, I used to travel in the metro and in the Blue Line, and I was reading it back home, and I read the book in one day, the whole book. I couldn't, put it back. I couldn't stop reading. And then the story is not the same. My story is not the same like this story, but it's the same about the same alien, the same experience, how things went. But of course, mine were not as traumatized as that story. But later on in life, I did have my traumatized stories. Most of them have been positive, but traumatized, I don't know in which way. I still haven't realized it. But it was like I had like a few really scary situations.
Hey, what do these guys want from you anyhow?
Yeah.
What do they want from me?
Yeah. Why you? You had other people at your house.
I always ask myself, well, the first thing I want to tell you, one of the things I want to tell you, why did I write this book? I wasn't going to write this book ever in my life. This is my dark secret. But you know what? I met Peter one day, and then we started emailing each other. I met Peter, and we started emailing each other. And he was talking about meeting aliens or people who was being, because he's a writer too, and he wants to meet people who's being experiencers. And then I told him something like, you don't want to go into that. I told him, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, you don't want to know. That's what I said to him. And then he started talking back to me, and then we became friends, kind of. And then I said, he asked me, are you an experiencer? And I said, yes, I am. But I don't want to talk about it, I said. But then he says, but I can share some of my stories, I said. So I wrote him whatever, stories that I have. And I said, that's why you don't want to meet these people, I said. And then he says, I want to meet you in person. And that's how everything came together. I wanted to write because I have it in my blood that I write things, but I wanted to write children's book. I wanted to write beautiful romantic novellas, stuff like that. That's what I wanted to write. I never wanted to write about UFOs or alien abductions because it's like you spilling your guts to the world, and you don't want to do that. I like to have my private life. I don't want nobody to bug me or bother me or say that I'm lying to get me some attention. I don't think so, but that's how Peter encouraged me, and that's the reason I'm here. And now I'm like really excited telling all my stories because I didn't know how many stories I have until I started writing them. And so that's what happened, and that's how I'm here.
Yeah, that's an interesting phenomenon. When you're writing, suddenly the memories flood in, and you get more and more details,
yes,
more and more incidents. So, and then I wanted to mention, when I was reading Whitley's Communion, I put the book down, and suddenly the television went on in a basement game room, family room, and it was blasting we never blasted it like that. It was so loud. I just jumped and went, what is going? And I made my husband, not this one, but my previous husband, I said, I'm not going down there. You go down there and see what's going on. But he was mentioning how so that goes back to your childhood incident when things would turn on, right? And that seems to be what happens when ETs come around. So you were probably having earlier encounters when they were in your house and turning on your television and things.
Yeah, in my house, I have an experience where a friend of mine came over to tell me that he didn't say it with words. He didn't use any words. He is symbolism. He came over out of, there was a dimension that opened up in the hallway in my house. Right. And Nicaragua is really hot. Managua is really hot, the weather. And so we had the windows and the doors open with a lot of fans everywhere. And I was asleep. All of a sudden, I can see the whole house lighting up. And I was like, what? And I move around and I can see everybody sleeping. And I was like really frightened that how is this happening? Then I see a door, a dimension opening up at the end of the hallway. And from there, a guy came in, but you couldn't see it at the moment. And that was a friend of mine who died 5 years later. Wow. And a guy that I haven't met yet. I haven't even met the guy. But then the guy showed me how he died. It's all in my book. You can see it in my book. And the story is like really impressive. Even though I have these other experiences, I never had one like this, exactly like that. That story where I can see everybody asleep.
At the time,
it's
foretold his death.
So this person was alive and came to tell you about his death. Is that what was conveyed? I'm confused. I'm sorry.
He told me he was gonna die, and but like I said, with symbolism, as he was walking towards me, he was leaving a trail of blood, and when he came to my bed, he sat into my bed and sinking into the mattress,
Right.
and you can feel the weight. And then he opens his arms and he shows me the blood all over his chest. He's been shot, you know, with a shotgun. And the day I left Nicaragua, the night before was in the political turmoil of my country, where we have a civil war in 1979. And the guy came over he already was my friend, but I didn't associate the story because it happened 5 years later. So the guy comes to me and he's trying to force me out of my house. Let's go. I have a new girlfriend. I want to introduce it to you. I want to sing. I want to sing for her. He knew how to play the guitar, and he's telling me all the stories. And I always love to see his girlfriends, because if they have a sister, then I have something going on for me. So that's why I was happy. But you know, that day, my dad said to me, "You know what? You're leaving tomorrow for the United States. I don't want to see you going out anywhere. If you want your friends, they can come over to the house, but I don't want you out of the house." I never listened to my dad. I was that kind of boy, but something told me you cannot go out today. And I didn't go out. And my friend begged me. And my friend, he had one of those pens, paper mate, that they were for university people, and we were kids. So he says to me, "You know what? If you go with me, I'll give you this pen." I knew the value of that pen because his dad gave it to him. And I said, "You know what? Keep your pen. I'm not going." And then when he finally knew that I was renewed to go, he says to me, "Keep the pen anyway, because I feel that this is the last time we're going to see each other." Whoa. And when he said that, I felt like a stab in my heart. And I don't know why I cried, because I knew he was going to get shot and killed. I knew it. At that moment, I already knew he was going to get killed. So he leaves the house, and there is a roundabout that was famous. All the teenagers will meet there back in those years, in the 70s. Everybody will dance in the corner, and the roundabout, there was an ice cream parlor, and there was a pizza parlor, and all the teenagers will be meeting there. It doesn't matter what school. And the fun thing is to wear your uniform, because we have a lot of private schools there. And you will be like proud to show your uniform. So everybody will be meeting there in the corner. And back because of the war, nobody will meet no more there. So he's coming back from his girlfriend's house when he finally played the music for her, and he was coming back home. He has the guitar in a case, and back then the communists, they have guns in the case, so the police will know that. And the police stopped him because they thought he had a gun in the case. But back home, we already knew if the police stops you, they will kill you, because that's the way it was. It was the war already going on, and they will kill teenagers because teenagers were the ones who make the war. So when he was called by the police, he got scared and he started running, and they shot him right away, and they killed them. And they killed them, and his cousin, he had a family like across the street from where he got killed, and people told me that he dragged himself all the way, and he died on the stairs of his relative's home. That's how he died. And then I didn't associate the story, of course, until years later when I find out right away that he got killed, because when I was leaving to the airport, they said on the news that they killed him. So my dad said, do you want to stop by their home and say goodbye, your final goodbye? I said, I don't want to remember him like that. I just want to leave. Don't worry about me. I said, I just don't want to know anything about what happened. And I left. But then people, when I came back to my country, like 10 or 15 years later, I don't remember how long after, people told me the story, how he died. I already knew.
I'm guilty for the United States destabilizing your country. I know what happened there, and I feel really bad about it.
Yeah, and still going on.
still going on. So what?
So anyhow,
I wanted to ask you.
so I just want to end up.
Finish that. Finish that. And then
I missed a little.
Go ahead.
I missed a little detail.
Go ahead.
As I'm watching this door that opened up in the end of the hallway, I noticed that my house wasn't my house anymore. That my house was like a spaceship. But I didn't know. I wouldn't know that that will be a spaceship. I will know it later. But then I saw aliens too, in the situation, in the whole thing. It's like they brought me back a story, so I know what's going on. I don't know why they did it, but I know I remember the same aliens, like I told you from the farm. I remember I saw flashes of them. I cannot say that I have communication with them or I saw them. I saw flashes of them around, like they were playing something in my house, that they converted my house into the spaceship. I don't know. Probably they mingle two realities into one, and to show me. Why did they show me? I had no idea. Did I gain anything out of this? Nothing. So why is that happen? Because something probably they were showing me probably that I was gonna die, and they had to protect me, and that's why I didn't die in that situation there. Because if I would have died, I will not bring these messages later on. And that's what happened. And they let me know that they did protect me then.
So the picture in your cover, is that the portal?
Protectors.
Is that the portal in your house?
Yes.
The picture in the cover?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We've got a real big one of it behind you, so we can see it.
Behind, yeah.
I like how you did that. So what was the catalyst that brought you to the United States? What was going on that you ended up being able to come to the United States?
Well, the war, I didn't want to leave my country. I had a happy life. We had a dictatorship, but he will not bother anybody unless you were involved, you know, like in a political group or something that will go against the government. And I was too small for that. I will not know anything of that. And I was happy the way it was. And of course, no dictatorship is good, but at least they were not doing anything to anybody yet that I knew of. Right. But when they killed my best friends, another friend that I have, a girlfriend, she had a brother. And the brother was like a year younger than us. And all of a sudden he got shot and killed. And we all went to the funeral, you know, and see the boy. And the casket was open, and I can see all the shotguns, you know, the shots on his body. And they also decapitated the boy. And I was traumatized. And I told my dad, I can't stay. My two older brothers already left. But since they were not killing kids like me, because I was 13, 14 years old, something like that. They were killing like 16, 17, 18 years old boys. And but when I saw the kid that was younger than me, and they killed him, and it was very traumatic for me. I told my dad, I can stay here. I have to leave this country. I have to leave. And my dad says, well, I don't know, because I already sent 2 kids to your cousin. My cousin is here in Los Angeles. And he sent my 2 older brothers there. And I don't know if she will want to get another boy in the house. There's going to be 3 people. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to put that burden, yeah, in her life. And she was married, so they had to speak to the husband too. But as soon as they heard I was another brother of my, because we didn't know those cousins. They left the country a long time ago. And so we didn't know them, but my mom and my dad, of course, they were related to my mom. And they said, what? Another boy wants to come in? This is his home. Bring him over, send him over. Oh. And that's how I left. And I went and asked for my visa. And I was really scared at the embassy because everybody that went ahead of me denied. And I thought, oh my God, I have no choice. I'm going to be killed because they're going to deny my visa. But they gave it to me. So I was so lucky. I blessed God every day because of that.
Why was that? What do you think happened that they gave? What do you think happened that they gave you the visa? Why did they give you the one? Everybody else they denied.
Because God wants it. He wanted it.
God
because they denied to people like me. I remember I saw their neighbors that they were crying. They said they didn't give it to me, and they started crying. And I was like shaking inside my body. Oh my God, they're not gonna give it to me. But they did. I went with my mom, and they were like really nice to me, and they gave me the visa. As soon as I showed my passport, they put the stamp right away. And they no, they didn't put it right away. They said, go and have a seat. And anybody who they told them to have a seat is because they were gonna give you your visa. So when I went to the window, they stamped my passport already. And they say, welcome to the United States. And I left the country. And it was the last plane. It was the last plane in that day. Yes, June 7th. No, June 19th. June 19th. It was the last day that anybody, a few days of my birth, before my birthday. And it was the last plane. And when I showed up, the police in the road, they have roadblocks. And they stop us to check the car and everything to see if we have bombs or something. And we were delayed, but I didn't know the pilot and the other people, the crew, were behind me. I didn't know that. So when we left, they delay a little bit. But when I show up to the airport, where were hundreds of people, nowhere to park. And my dad said, get off here and go, because I flew in Pan American, remember?
Yeah.
And I flew in that plane and that company, and when I showed up, nobody was in the area, the boarding area, nobody. And I said, "Oh my God, they left." And I went and looked for somebody there, and the lady was picking up something on the floor. And when I showed up to the window, she says, "The flight is gone. What are you doing here?" So I started, "Oh, Mom, look. I'm not going. They're going to kill me." I start like crying, kind of. And the lady says, "No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding." She says, "The plane's still here." And then I see the crew. They were all Americans in the crew, and they were right behind us. And my dad is walking in. And then my dad says, "Don't worry about it. They're behind you, the crew members. So don't worry about it." And then the pilot, he punched me on my arm. And he says, "We're waiting for you. That's why you delayed us." So they already knew the whole thing, and I was like rushing with my suitcase, because the lady says, if you want to leave in the airplane, you have to run right now, because these people is already here. And so I running in the airport. You know, they didn't have staircases back then where you go down and up. And so I started running with my suitcase, because they will not take it from me, because everybody was already inside. So when they came into the plane, they didn't even say good morning, nothing. They closed the door and they left, just like that. And then I can see sparks on my window. And on the plane, they were shooting at the plane, because they already took over the country, the communists.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were shooting at us because they thought we were government people leaving the country, but inside the plane, only children, little like kids like me and children. That's it.
Wow, what a story. Well, we're glad you got out. So
I was glad.
And how old were you? I forgot how old are you when this happened?
I was 14. I turned 15 here in the States.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to the United States. You're 14 years old. What happens? What next?
Okay. I got to my cousin's home, and my older brother says, "We are too many people here," because they were sleeping in the sofa, and they bought a sandwich bed. And I was sleeping in my older brother was sleeping in the sandwich bed, and my other brother in the sofa. There was no other place. I was going to sleep on the carpet. But my older brother says, "I don't want you to sleep in the carpet. So here, I'm leaving." And he left to another cousin that he met in those days, because they left like 2 months before me. So they already have met another cousin related to that cousin. And she says, "I can take you into my house." So he left and he went and lived with them. So I ended up with my other brother in that house. And like 3 months after that, the country won the war. The war was all over in my country. So my other brother returned because he was at the university, and he says, I don't want to be an uneducated person in the United States. I'm going to be washing dishes all my life. So I'm just going to go back to Nicaragua, he says, and he left like 3 months later. And then my older brother, he says, I'm not going back because he already seen a lot of people being killed, and he almost got killed too. So he said, I'm not going back. He was traumatized. He didn't want to go back. So he stayed, and he told me, you know what? I'm going to find me a job, and I'm going to move to an apartment. If you want to move with me, you're welcome, he says. And I said, sure, I want to move with you because he's my brother. I don't want to be in somebody's home where I'm going to be a burden to them. Even though they were the nicest people in the world, we still have communication, and we love them. They're our family, so nice people. And so he moves to this apartment in Vermont Avenue in LA, you know, near Hollywood, like a mile away from Hollywood. And I was like all excited. Oh my God, I'm gonna be next to Hollywood. I forgot about the war, and I said I wanna have fun. You know, I wanna go to Disneyland, and I wanna go to Universal Studios, and I have to start working because who's gonna give me money? Because my dad and my mom, they were trapped in my country. They couldn't send us any money. So my brother started working. And then it was the time where Carter was the president. And then he gave all Nicaraguan people permit to work and to stay in the country, even if their visas expired. So lucky us, we got immediately, we went to immigration. There was a big line with 2,000 people there. Not Nicaraguan, of course, from other countries. But then we were making the line, and I said, oh my God, we're going to stay here like until tomorrow, because there was so many people around the building, outside the building. And this lady came out, and she says, all Nicaraguan people come this way. You don't have to make the line. And they gave us the paper right away, you know, the permits and everything. So we were ready to start working, but I was very young. But back then, they didn't ask you for ID. All they asked you was for the Social Security card. That's it. So I lied, of course. I said that I have 16 so that I can work. And I started working at Burger King. And I was eating a lot of hamburgers there because they threw them away in the garbage. And in my country, it was a luxury. So I said, I'm not going to throw these hamburgers in the garbage. You know, I'm going to eat them. So, but they don't let you eat them. They don't let you take them or go take them home or nothing. So, you know, when I was going in, to the garbage can to throw them away, in the way there, I grabbed one of them and I'll be eating my hamburger, you know, at least, because I felt bad that they were throwing all this food when people in the world is dying of hunger, but they will not give it to you for, you know, for whatever reasons they have. They have the reasons. So anyhow, 3 months in that apartment, and I became friends with the landlord, and he was a young Jewish guy who was a writer, and he will tell me, and we became really good friends. He wasn't married; he had girlfriends, but he lived by himself in his apartment, and we became friends. And he was like a really nice guy. That if one day he listens to this, I will want him to know that he inspired me to become a writer. Not only that I had it in my blood, but the way he told me the stories and the way he showed me his pictures, you know, that he traveled all over the world. And I did the same thing. I traveled too a lot because I was inspired by him. And I started writing because I was inspired by him also. And the guy was a Jewish young man that he wrote for many shows for TV. And but he never got any luck. And he was telling me that he didn't care that he didn't have any luck, but he will try and try until one day he made it in Hollywood. And so the guy, he will tell me stories and stuff, and we'll spend time together. He was like about 28, and I was like 14. So he was a lot older than me, but he was the nicest guy in the world. And back then, I was like really impressed to have a friend who was older than me, of course, because, you know, in my country, you don't have friends at all. You have friends your age or younger than you. But I was like impressed, you know, that people pay attention to me, people older than me. And so one day out of the blue, we are in this apartment, and the building was haunted because I can hear things at night going boom, you know, and but I will not know they were haunted. It was haunted. I just will hear these things, and we settled on the third floor, and one day, and the third floor was the top floor, so on top was another a place where people went and how do you call it, terrace, a terrace where people go and smoke and watch the sky and watch the city, and I will go there sometime, you know, some of the time I will go there and talk to strangers that live in the building, and we'll sit in those beach chairs, you know, the lawn chairs, and watch the sky. It was nice, you know. The 1970s was a nice time in the States, and so one day I'm in my bed, and one day I was not in my bed, but I was in the apartment, and I felt kind of sleepy, and I said I'm gonna have an afternoon sleep, because in my culture, Latinos, you have lunch and then you have a time for a break, you know, where you sleep a little bit, and we call it siesta. So I was used to my siesta, but in the United States, people don't do siesta, so you know, you don't have time for that. And I said, well, I guess I'm missing my siesta. I'm gonna have my siesta today, and I have my siesta, and as soon as I was in the sleep, I can hear this music that came out of the sky. And I said, I'm crazy or I'm dying. So I got up and I went to look over the window to see if somebody was playing music, one of the neighbors in the other building or something, because it was really strange. It was this celestial music. And I said, this is impossible. How can somebody be playing? I never heard something like this kind of melody, this kind of orchestra. I never heard it before, because it wasn't with the instrument, the musical instruments that we know. It wasn't played like that. It was played differently, completely differently, and in another level. So I got up and I went and watched, and I see nobody's playing the music. I go back again and I start going asleep again, and I start hearing the music again. So when I start hearing the music, and I said, wow, I don't know if I'm gonna die today, because it was celestial music. So I thought I'm dying. And when I'm going into that mode of sleep, then I noticed that I start levitating, and now I cannot open my eyes anymore. So I'm levitating, and I'm going. All of a sudden, I levitated all the way up to the roof, and then this amazing speed that I never seen before in my life, never experienced it before in my body. I start going up in this turmoil of light, and I'm going like really high up in the sky. And when I'm up there, then everything blacked out. And that's when when I woke up again, I'm with this not suit, is like in the hospital, do you have that? How do you call it? The gown.
Yeah, gown.
Like a hospital gown. And I can feel that I'm naked inside. I don't have any clothes on, but I have this gown. It's a white gown. And I see my feet are bare. I'm walking bare feet. I don't have any shoes on, and no socks either. And I had socks on, of course, when I was in bed. And I can see everything is real. I'm slapping my hands, and I can feel another atmosphere. And I said, this is real. This is real. And I'm like thumping on the floor to know that I can feel these actions that I'm doing with my body, right? Because that's the first thing you want to know if you're sleeping or not.
Right.
And I'm pinching my skin also. And all of a sudden I hear a voice that says that to be calm. You know, but I know that voice is not a human voice. It's something like a command in my brain. And when that voice sounds, I go completely numb and calm. And my heart stops beating so hard, and it slows down. And then I felt this hand, and it says, don't look. You know, not to look at this hand, but I saw the hand was a huge hand, you know, that big, in my shoulder here. and I pay whatever the voice says. I listen to that voice. I will not go against, to just because I'm curious. I want to see. I couldn't because I had to obey. I knew.
Was it a human hand?
Say that again.
Was it a human hand?
It was a human hand. It was a white human hand, a giant human hand.
Was it
and
warm?
And I knew, huh?
Was it warm?
I don't remember that, to be honest with you.
So you have a giant hand on your arm, on your shoulder. Does it stay there, or do they retract it?
No, the hand stayed there all the time. Oh, it's like making sure I will not turn my head, something like that, like a warning, But it was a nice voice and a nice feeling. I felt that I was in good company. I didn't feel threatened ever. And then the place was a huge, giant place, like a warehouse, very giant. And then, but I'm paying attention to every single detail. I'm going like, what is this and what is that, and how the floor looks like. Everything was shiny, beautiful, very clean, very nice. The atmosphere make you feel like you are in Disneyland, in the 1970s, because Disneyland is not the same anymore. But, like in the 1970s that you can eat off the floor, the same thing, that kind of Disneyland I remember. So anyhow, I'm in this place, and I felt the hand, and the hand is talking to me and telling me messages. And all of a sudden, when I'm paying attention to what it's saying, I don't remember. Don't ask me because I don't remember. But I know that it was good things, good news for the earth, for Earthians, and things like that, a lot of things. And with the power of thought, it was as fast as the power of thought. And all of a sudden, he says to me, I don't know why I ask something, and he says to me, look, and I look, and I see the earth being invaded by thousands of UFOs, thousands, millions of UFOs, and they look bad news. They were not like the other UFOs. They look bad news. And he says, he didn't say it, that he sent me this knowledge to my head, like we were being invaded, but not to worry because they were watching over us. And they were powerful than those that came here to the earth.
Did you get any impression of what time that was? Was that in the future?
The time?
Yeah, when was this invasion? Was that something that happened before? Was it current, or was it in the future?
Or different dimension?
Or yeah.
That's a good question, but I think now that I have read a lot, I have talked to Peter, who's somebody who's very knowledgeable, and I have done my own investigations and stuff like that and whatnot. I believe that this is like in the beginning of times.
Okay.
In the beginning of times, of the earth, of course, of the earth, and that we were invaded since then. But I cannot assure that. I just can tell you what I came to a conclusion to that we were invaded, and things are happening on earth, but they were watching over us, and not to worry because they were watching over us, and we were like really important, and we were like a treasure to them, and not to worry about it. So, giving me some confidence, and that's what happened. But I remember I was like really scared, and I started sweating. I started sweating on my forehead and my hands when I saw that impression, even though I didn't know what it meant back then. But I remember that I was in fear, a lot of fear.
What was it that made you think they were bad news? It was just that this person that had his hand on you conveyed that, or did they look like they were armed to the teeth, or what made you think they were bad news?
Well, the UFOs, they were not similar to the ones that you know of, that you have seen, right? The popular ones, not that kind. They were like those ugly machines, flying ugly machines. But the impression that I got they were bad news is because I told you, remember at the beginning, you asked me, how do you know they were bad news with the TV? The same thing, you have the evil sense, because when you are transformed in this body, every sense that comes up to you is real, and you don't need to tell me I'm a bad guy when I already know it.
Okay, you got the energy. They were bad. They were evil. They meant to hurt
Yes.
people.
What energy came from the hand? And did you see any other parts of the being? And what color was the hand? Did it have the hand? Was it what color?
Yes. The hand. I think I have to be honest with you. I think it was a human hand for the way it felt. I know out of the corner of my eye, I saw a white hand, but I cannot be sure. I know it was a gentle giant, as I describe it in my book, in the first story, the UFO invasion. That's where this giant comes up. But like, to be honest with you, I cannot say I saw the giant. I didn't see it, but I know he was there. I can hear I can feel the presence. It was giant, and I can feel the hand, in my arm, in my shoulder, and the hand transmitted a lot of things. Just putting his hands over my shoulder, I felt that he was transmitting a lot of positive emotions and positive thoughts.
So, if you put all this stuff together, it's almost like you were primed to have this message and to say, yeah, you're in danger, but we're protecting you. It seems like that's you were chosen to give us this message. Do I got you right?
Yes. I never knew that until years passed by, when I started thinking, why am I getting these messages? I'm not doing anything with them. Are they important? Why are they contacting me? I have all these questions. I'm nobody important. I'm somebody who always tried to be in the shadow. I don't want people to mess around with me. I like a happy life and calm down. And I don't want to be in the eye of the hurricane. I like to keep my low profile. That's the kind of person I am. I always been. It's true that I talk a lot and that I'm very friendly and stuff like that. But in my privacy, I'm a very private person who likes to have a quiet life. More now that I'm older, that I learn. I say, why are these politicians now fighting over a bone? If I am younger than them, like 30 years younger than them, and look at me, I want a happy life. And a happy life is to have a nice, calm down life. I don't want money. I of course I want money enough for my expenses, but I don't want to be a rich guy who sits in a mansion, and has 100 cars and 100 slaves around. I don't want that. I'm happy with my little life. And these guys are fighting over a bone, and they killing each other. They telling each other all nasty stuff. I don't understand it in my head. I don't understand it. And all the messages that have come to me, it's about that. It's about not to trust your government, not to trust people who has high positions, not to trust anybody. That the people that is like in their plan, there's people that wants to have a quiet life, people that wants to stay low profile. That's the kind of people they are working with. So if you're like probably a smart guy, a genius is going to say, oh, look at this guy, this peasant from Nicaragua or something. Look at how he's getting all these messages, and he's very important. Like he's somebody very important in the world, like a superhero. Well, that's what they want. Somebody that doesn't bring attention to him, somebody that is mellow, somebody that has a life where you don't want conflict in your life, somebody that works and lives a life, a simple life. And that's what I am. I'm happy with my simple memories of my grandmother in the farm and my grandparents that came from Europe, and that they came to this world and they have a good life and a peaceful life. They were not people that make they were not assassins or criminals. They were good people. That's all my family background is from. And that's the kind of people that I associate with. And I don't want to have a life with a lot of turmoil around. And so later on, in my second book, in my volume 2, you'll see stories where how is it that I know that I came to this world to be a witness of what's going on, because that's what they told me already. They told me that I'm a witness, that I'm going to be somebody that is going to be sitting somewhere, not passing judgment, of course, but I'm going to be a part of a jury. And I've been going to meetings like that in my first book, also volume. There is a story there where we all met. I met with all these elderly guys, all men. There was no women in there. Sorry about that. It's not me, the one who made up the story. The story, that's the way it was. But it was elder guys with white beards and white hair. Everybody was like elderly people. I didn't see anybody younger than me. And they all met in different platforms in the universe. And you are taken there, and they will have like meetings, like this, like meetings when you work in a company. You know how you often have these meetings for the company? The same thing. They have meetings, and these people is from different times, from different times and time frames. And I was there, but I was there as a listener because I'm like in the process to be one of them. Uh-huh. And that's what I was told. And this experience was really spiritual, very spiritual and very filling, and my mind didn't make it up because I arrived in a UFO. So and I can remember all that.
I've been to a lot of meetings too, but it's not all humans. Were your meetings all humans?
My meetings were all humans.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to meetings with other.
I have met other forms of life, but mostly humans and angelic beings that look like human.
Interesting. Let's go back to your siesta. So you're just having a siesta, and I had the experience. I had a nap. We call it a nap. Same thing. It's like you just get overwhelmed. You feel like you have to sleep, and it's like you just get into something. You're there, right? So you have this hand. What happens after the hand? How do you get back to
after that?
How do you get back to your bed?
Okay. When everything is over, everything was over, I blacked out again. I blacked out again, and then I was in bed again.
Wow.
But since I'm an experiencer, I know that it wasn't a dream, because a dream is a crazy dream where you see a lot of crazy stuff going on. I know how to identify dreams with reality, with other realities. And that I learned over the years, that it wasn't a dream at all. There's always proof.
Did you ever have any marks on your body or implants?
I had blood in my what I remember mostly is blood in my pillows. And then I looked for blood anywhere, no blood anywhere. And that was during the years. And I had pain. I had pain in parts of my body that they didn't have any explanation, and they felt like something was work on them, on my body. But then I didn't see any marks, no marks.
Interesting.
I think that if they worked something on me, has been in my brain.
What do you think they did in your brain?
I think they probably put something in there to find me. Not the angelical beings, because those are more spiritual, but the alien form of lives, they have to track you down, like you do to your pet or to those wildlife that you take care of, and you know how you mark them. And to me, alien life forms, they have to track you down with something like that, but not the angelic beings. The angelic beings and the evil, they don't need to track you down like that. They track your spirit.
Uh-huh. Okay, so what happened next? How old were you when you had the hand incident?
How old I was?
Yeah, when you had the hand incident.
15 years old.
You're still 15. Okay.
Wow. I turned 15.
Right. So you're 15. What was the next? We have about a half an hour. So what was your next incident? Or what's the most important thing you want to convey during this? We can do another session later, but we're going to end in a half an hour. What are some of the most important things you want to convey to our listeners in this recording?
Well, that will be my volume 2 that you haven't read about because I haven't published it yet.
Oh, yeah.
And
what's it going to be called?
It's going to be Into the Dimensions, volume 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a series. I'm hoping with Peter that we can write I can write 5 books and he can help me with it. 5 book series. That's what we're hoping for. So, because I have, like I told you, all throughout my life, I have these stories that if somebody tells me the stories, I will not believe it. I will just run away from this guy. He's crazy. Bad news, and run away. But, it's me and I have to live with me. So I have to start telling the story. So the one that most impressed me throughout my life is this experience that I had with this being that they transfer our humanity into a clone. And I was taken, the whole thing started with the air conditioning grill. I live in this house in Florida where the air conditioning grill was my communication between me and alien life, or other forms of life. It was the least expected of them all. Everybody will say the TV or the radio or something else, electronic, but not me. I have the gas air conditioning grill, and I saw this ball of mercury dropping out of the grill, and before I see it, a voice will tell me, because this happened like a few times, and the voice will tell me it's not going to hurt. And then I wake up and I say, what is not going to hurt? Because I will wake up. And then I look up, because everything is like designed for you. It's like they already know I'm going to wake up and I'm going to look up. So it was something like a script that I wake up, I get up, and I say, what? It's not going to hurt me, because I heard the voice very clear in my head. And then I look up and I see the air conditioning grill. And out of the air conditioning grill, even though it's dark, in the room, and I have my wife sleeping next to me, that every time I move a finger or something in the middle of the night, my wife will wake up really upset and say, I won't be able to sleep the whole day today, and I'll be sleepy and you ruin my day. That's what she will say, because she was the kind of women the kind of people that if you touch them at night or something like this, a little bit, you pinch them, they will never go back to bed again. They will be up and awake. And I was like really frightened to touch my wife at night. Imagine that. Not at the beginning when we got married, but we were already 10 years in our marriage. So I said, I'm not going to touch my wife. I better move this way. So I'm like this all night, right? Not to have my wife upset against me. So when I turn and I touch my wife and everything, and I push her, you see I touched a nerve there. Anyhow, I'm pulling my wife to the side. I'm punching her because I want her to get up. You know what happened? She will never get up. She will never get up or wake up. Nothing. The woman was dead there. And I was like, oh my God, what happened to this woman? Every time I barely touch her with my elbow, she'll wake up and say, oh, you're ruining my night. And now she's not waking up when I'm having this thing going on. And then I see this light of mercury, this bag of mercury dropping from the grill, and a spider comes out, a mechanical spider.
Oh my God.
And the mechanical spider, and it was a huge spider, like tarantula, but it was a mechanical one. And she started going on the wall and walking towards me. And that's when even though I could move, not moving no more. I'm not moving anymore. And then the spiders start walking, and I can feel that she's tearing my skin because I can feel she has like knives on her feet. And I can feel it and hear it, the mechanical sounds. And she comes and she drops something in my neck. And I'm like this, I can't even move. Only my eyes, and I can breathe. The only thing I can do is breathe. And then I see that she's stinging me right here. And I said, how come it's not gonna hurt? It's hurting me like hell, because it's like they injected you like alcohol or something into your body, you know, something like acid, exactly like acid. And it goes into your veins, and you can feel all your body going, that liquid going into your whole body. But once that it reaches to your toes, then you're numb completely, and you feel in another body. You feel awesome, you know, like you don't feel anything anymore. And then I'm being taken, and then I see these little beings running around, but I cannot see them to their face because they're like running around, and I don't know what's going on. In the dark, everything is dark, and you know, you barely see anything. Then I see them grabbing me, and then I'm gone. This blackout, totally blackout. But when I'm in the blackout, I remember I wake up, and then as I'm going full speed, the same one like I told you when it happened in 1979, I went full speed, completely, like when you see these movies that they go light speed, the speed of light, just like that. And I can see the stars around me. I can see stars, and I can see like flickering lights, you know, around me. And I see that I'm going into a tunnel. You know, I'm being guided into a tunnel, like I'm inside a capsule of something. And then I black out again, and then I feel that I'm in another place. So it's like they get to a place, I imagine, I'm making up this in my head. I go to a place which is a mothership outside the earth, and then from there, I'm going, they transfer me into another consciousness, in a clone body. And that's when I appear in this clone body. Yeah, and from then on the story, that's the story that caused me more. I was so impressed about that story, that experience, because I became a clone, and I already knew I being a clone, but I didn't know for how long, because the memories are erased. But I can retain some of the memories, but not all of the memory. But on this occasion, I retained all the memories. Only when I blacked out, I didn't retain. And that one was killing me because it was a mission that we have to do, and it was information that it was giving me and given to me about the earth, you know, what to do, what not to do. And then people will ask, because I asked myself these questions. I said, okay, these beings come from another world. They cross time and space, millions of years from the earth. Why do they want to tell you to be good? Why do they want to tell you what we already know? We have the Bible for that. For Christians like me, we have the Bible. We have good books that tell you to be good. You know, why do they come and tell me? You know, I wonder, why do they come and tell me what people already know?
So what is your answer? He who asks the question doesn't answer. What's
the answer? The answer is very simple, very simple. You know, we have to change ourselves. If they can change me, I can change one more person, maybe, or more, or a dozen. But the change has to come from you, the person who's being contacted. I have to show the change inside of me in order to touch other people's life. I have to show goodness. I'm working on it. I have a battle every day to be a good person, to do the right thing. But if I can do that, somebody else can do it also. And I can, you know, with my stories, I can change somebody's memories, somebody's life, somebody's ideas, somebody's thoughts. And what does that make you? Going to the next dimension, because we are stuck here because evil already came in. They locked us down, and we don't see where to go. We don't see the light. And even though for some people it's not important, yes, let me tell you, it is important, because for us as humans, we care about money, we care about politics, we care about me. We care about what I'm gonna have. We care about all the properties that I can have in this life, while everybody else in another part of the world is dying of hunger. My neighbor maybe needs food, and I don't care. That's their problem. They let him look for a job. And that's one thing that I have learned, that we cannot be selfish. We have to be giving ourselves more to others. Like parents, you have to love your parents. They are your parents, and if they traumatize you or they abuse you or something, then I do understand things, you know. But still, we are here for a mission. All of us are here for a mission. I'm not the only one. I'm not important. I'm only the one who pay attention. I'm the one who, when they say, hey, come on, come here, I win. Not everybody else have the time. People says, oh, that's a nightmare. I don't care. You know, that's a nightmare. Everybody has it. I have to have my feet on the ground. You know, that's the attitude that every human has. But what do we do on the other hand? We don't care if people is killing themselves in another country. That's their problem. They're all crazy. Let them kill themselves. No, that's not the way it is. We want to pass to another era, to the era where everybody else in the universe is already rich, but we haven't. We're stuck in the cave years, in the time of the caveman. We want to be there where I want to be myself, where I want everything I wanted for me. So even though nobody thinks that is important, if people, they want to hear that I can tell you how to make a UFO and you can travel through the universe. That's what they want to hear. But you know what? You can have all that if you change this. As long as you change this and we are all united, we are all together doing something for one purpose, we can we can go across the universe. We can see places. We can go everywhere. Nobody will stop us. It's like Hollywood says, you can reach the sky, you know, and with your success, you are successful, you can reach the sky in Hollywood. The same thing, you know, we can do the same thing. If we united together, you know, we are not selfish. We don't say, well, look at me, I study all these years, I have a master's in this, I have a whatever, you know, gives you credit in the world to be important. And you don't do nothing for the least expected person, somebody who's dying of hunger, somebody who does drugs and is asking you for $1, and you don't give them something, at least hope, you know, at least hope, then you're not doing anything. We're not doing anything in this world. Look, if you see the story of humanity, it's the same. We're just going in circle like a crazy dog, in circle, in circle, in circle. We don't go anywhere. Look, the way they digging out other civilizations that they're smarter than us. Up to date, where they were smarter than us, whoever built Machu Picchu, the pyramids in Egypt, they were smarter than us. Why? Because they got together and did something. Somebody else got together. Somebody did get together and they did something. But what happened? We divided ourselves. You know, somebody tells us, you know what, because you are white, you are more important than the black people, or you are more important than Latinos, and your race is better than this one, and blah, blah, blah. And they all confused. Everybody's confused. I'm better than you. You are better than me. I got more money than you. And that's the way we are all confused, running in circles.
So
in circles.
Are they offering any way for us to operationalize this and make it happen? We have this very full turmoil right now. We're heading up to the inauguration. We have all this potential danger, harm that's coming our way. How can we as an individual take that directive that they gave you and do the first step? Any ideas?
Well, the first thing, they haven't given me any advice about that, but they gave me advices that the same thing, like today. You know, whatever we're going on today, whatever is going on in the world today, the whole world of politics is a circus. Why am I gonna hate you because you vote for somebody that I don't like? Why am I gonna hate you for that? Another thing is that we are vessels. You know, this humanity is a vessel. What is important is what is inside, and we all know that. But you know what? We don't practice that. Because then you say, this is my body, and I can do with my body whatever I please. It's my body. No, it's not. This is not your body. You are lucky they gave you this body to come around in a third dimension like us and enjoy the third dimension, but this is not yours. This vessel is not belong to you. It's the first thing we have to remember. If we don't remember that and we don't want to hear it, it's because we want to do it a selfish way. But the truth is, this is not yours. This is not yours. It's what's inside yours. And I already saw what is inside because I've been in there. I've been in that position where I've been soul by itself. I've been in that position.
Want to say something, Sash?
No, you're right on. It's I would say there's a balance. A centered person can balance taking and giving. If you just give all the time so that you can't take care of yourself, that's too much. And if you don't give enough to others, then you're selfish and it does nothing works. So it's the balance, being able to understand your context. And a lot of it's interesting. I look at the virus as an opportunity for humanity to realize we must stop regarding each other as strangers and work together to survive. And it's a terrible blessing, but that's the outcome. The inevitable outcome is the realization that we are all one, and if we're going to survive on this planet, we need to cooperate.
I want to give Peter an opportunity. What would you like to add to this conversation, Peter?
Well, I'm delighted that Carlo has connected so passionately with his mission and his messages, and I want to continue to support him through the 5 volumes, the incredible stories. When I first met him in 2012, he sent me the first stories, and I said, "My God, Carlos, you've got to bring these stories to the world." And it took me 6 years actually to convince him to do that, but it was worth the time and effort. And here we're just beginning to the payoff of that hard work. And Carlos is finally connected with those things, because, you know, growing up with this kind of special gifts, by the way, that was an evidence of clairvoyance on that story about the guy who came in and died in his room 5 years before. He saw him actually get killed in a war in 1979. Carlos has a very special gift of clairvoyance, and I think it's remarkable that he's beginning to want to share it with all of us, because he's the things that he has seen. It just convinces me that the remarkable truth is in the dimensions that we can't see in this third dimension. It paves the way for us as we ascend, and the whole object here is we want to join our ET families. They're our ancestors, and we're being held back by dark forces that are preventing us from it. I mean, we all know about the secret government and the secret space program. They have all of the tools that we need right now to cure terminal diseases and to build UFOs and Tesla's generators. My God, I mean, they stopped him from advancing, and we're just still in the struggle at that roundy vicious circle that Carlos is talking about. And I mean, the ETs, they know that they can't interfere with us. They give Carlo the messages which he's giving us. They can't come down and fix our stuff. It's part of the cosmic law that they can't do it. No dimensional interference. But what they can do is they can behind the scenes, do little things, little grassroots things. It's got to be starting at the grassroots, and that's what I think what one of Carlo's main points here is. It's got to start at the grassroots, and I think you know that, Janet. And it's going to expand outward and outward and outward and outward. It's not going to be some grand turnover. It's going to happen overnight. It's going to have to be something where we come together little by little by little by little by little until it's a force that can't be denied. And I was just listening to Valiant Thor was being interviewed the other day, and he said if we could put together 100 million people and process positive thought, that would be the beginning of turning the whole thing around on this planet, raising the resonance, raising the vibrations, and it's a story. I mean, he's the Venusian who came in and visited President Eisenhower in the 50s.
So how did somebody
Go
interview?
ahead.
How did somebody interview Valiant Thor now? I thought he left the Earth realm.
No, he's still around.
He did leave in the 50s, but he's back, and he's 330 years old.
Right.
And he it wasn't a live interview like this. It was through a woman who had an implant, and they were in a different dimension. And there was a Q&A, and he answered all the questions that were. It's a remarkable interview. I can email it to you, the link for it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, and so Valiant Thor is back. He's alive and well, and he explained the cities on Venus that we can't see, how they live, and he gave the same messages as Carlo's giving us. That we have got to come together. We have got to turn over the dark forces. We got to identify them first of all. And we can't get caught up in them and be, because so many people are absorbed by it. It's like almost like a drug, and cults, all these cults that we have. And it's very difficult, very confusing for everybody. I mean, a lot of people just don't know what to do.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so
Wow.
thank you so much, Carlos, for bringing your messages to the dimensions here of the dimensions. And yes, I think it would be great if you could come back and do another a session back maybe in March or April.
Yeah, I would love to have Carlo back.
I
Okay,
just
great.
want to say that, Carlo, you are a living example of the richness we get by having people from Latin America and Mexico among us, and I'm a recipient of that richness growing up in Los Angeles. And thank you for being here, man.
I want to give
Thank you.
the last, we have 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So what else do we need to know? Any other messages that come through you? Something to
Sure.
give us hope for the next month.
There we go.
Okay, so that's,
My book is in Amazon, and it's a different thing giving an interview here than going to the right choice where you can read it
right.
and understand it better. Because when I was telling Peter earlier today that that is easy to make it's easier to make a book easier than giving an interview, because when you give an interview you forget details, but when you start writing your story you remember, oh, I forgot this,
Right.
and I forgot that. So the messages doesn't go across that easy because everybody tells the same story. If you read another book about people who's being abducted, they will tell you the same story. And you want to know the difference of the story. Is the way every writer has a different way of saying the things that I say. And in my book, it's not going to be only a story about my scary situations or my adventures, but it's going to give you a lot of information for better yourself. You know, the messages that I have in each one of my stories is a message. It's a message of goodness, and it's a message that is going to help you, not only because everybody says to do it, but because every person has a different mission. And my mission is telling my story that as true as it is from the beginning, so people can understand why did I get these messages? Why these people is coming to me? How is it that I have this gift? And what I have learned throughout all these years is that everything is in your genes. This is transfer. It's not like, oh, I want to see UFOs and I want to talk to an alien like he did. If he did, I can do it. No. I think that because you're not experiencing it yourself, you know that that's not the way it works. That's why we have a lot of scary situations when people is being abducted differently than being contacted. That's a different story. Contacted is one thing. Being abducted is another thing, because you don't know who's abducting you. And if you got in the wrong hands, then you have a bad story there. But we are being contacted. It's a different thing that people don't understand it. So that's my message right there. It's the two different things. And also, it's always for the goodness of man. It's always that we need to be together and come together to understanding in order for us to go over that rainbow where we are blocked in. They put it on a DNA, you know, they mix it in a way that they want to keep us down and not ask questions, you know. All you need to know in this world for any human is how to get rich and how to be smart so you can take advantage of everybody else. But that's not the way it's work in order for you to go over the rainbow. You have to do is study and be smart, of course. You have to make money and everything is good. The problem comes when you think only about yourself and you don't care about anybody else. That's the problem. It's not making money. It's not being rich. It's not being smart. It's being selfish.
Right. When's your next book going to be out? When can we expect it?
Peter?
It's a very good question. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
I can't tell you, maybe.
A launch date. Okay. How close is it?
When it's done.
When it's done. Okay. I mean.
Okay. The book is already written, but we have to go over the story. What happened is that I had a really bad accident, and that I don't want to share that story. But it's a really a bad accident that I had, and I was away for a long time, and I'm back, you know, and I'm back with Peter, getting together to put the book together. And we already have how many stories we have?
We have 2 stories written, and we're working on the second 2. And we're going to be 2 at a time. It's going to be 14, another 14 stories. So we'll just pace ourselves. It's probably going to take the rest of the year to do the 14, and maybe early in 22 we will be able to publish it.
Okay, there we go.
Well, I have another story. I have another story that I haven't given it to Peter, but I will give it to him one of these days.
Well, he's had hundreds of experiences, so it's I'm sure he has other stories. Yes.
We're looking forward to it, and we want to thank you both for coming on today. It's been a great time. So, do you have a website, either of you?
Yeah, Peter?
Not really, but we're just using the Amazon site for
the book.
For the book, and it's also an ebook, and that's sufficient for us right now. We were actually selling the books at UPARS on a monthly basis to people who would attend our monthly seminars, where we had well-known speakers would become. But of course, COVID changed all of that. And now, sales are really slow. People don't have the money to buy things that they want to do. You just need to put food on the table, gas in the car, and stay home. It's just, that's the world we live in right now. It's going to be that way for a while. No, people don't even go to the movies anymore. What kind of a world do we live in? It's just amazing. But we just have to go forward. You can't let that stop us. And just keep it positive. This is another obstacle we just have to get through. Just another obstacle. Okay, we got another obstacle. I just got to get through it. Take a number. Thank you, Janet, very much. Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
What would you like to say, Sasha, before we
Get off on your likes. That'll get you high.
Yeah, just you get your likes. Okay, thank you so much. Much love and blessings, and aloha to everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll look forward to the next time.
Mahalo.
Bye-bye.